Okay, let's take a look at how you tie the wings on a CDC spinner. I've got the fly started. I've already put in the split tails. You can see those here. I'll spin that around a little bit so you can see them. Nice. And so you do that, and then you get the thread up here about 3/4 of the way up the hook. Now, there are two ways, as I see it, to make these CDC wings. One is like this, which uses the tip of the feather. None of the fibers are bound down. They're all coming from the stem. I'll show you what I mean. If you take a CDC feather that you're going to use as the wing, and you strip a little bit below here so you have something to tie on, then you end up with a wing like that. But if you take these fibers and you draw them all up to the tip and then you pinch them together, then you end up with a wing like that, which is a little thicker and perhaps maybe slightly less convincing for the most delicate, for snickety trout in the quietest, clearest water. But you do get a more buoyant fly, so you can decide on that. But we'll do it this way this time, with the bushier way. And I take two CDC feathers that match more or less in shape, and then I put those back to back so that their curve is apart. As you can see, they're just slightly curving apart a little bit, and I make sure the tips are even, so neither tip is sticking beyond the other one. And I'll stroke these forward, measure them against the shank. I want them to be about the full length of the hook from the rear edge to the tip of the eye. So I keep my eye on that measured point and then bring it right up to where the thread is. Use the pinch to tie it in. And again, just for the record, this is that fly that is in the article in Hook Now online magazine. This is the CDC spinner. So there are your wings. Now, you trim the butts at an angle, bind the butts, and then you're going to create the abdomen of the fly. And I'll do that, and then we'll come back and we'll finish those wings. Alright, I tied or created this biot abdomen, and that's another little bit of a challenge of its own, but we're talking about the wings right now. So I'll pull those back and then get in here with my thumbnail and give them a little crease. That's going to help them stand up, and I try to stroke all the fibers back out of the way and then get my thread in there and build some tight thread turns right up against the base of the fibers so that they stay, and there they go. They're right upright. Now, go in with your closed scissor tips, never open scissor tips, or you could use a bodkin, and you separate out the fibers and kind of decide what belongs where, and pull your wings down to the sides. And then, when you got that figured out, more or less, I'm not sure I do. There. You run some figure-8 turns like this. They're going around the shank and then up, around the shank, and then just continue in the same direction and go between the wings, and you can go behind a wing again. And you just keep tugging the wings into position and then using those turns of thread to sort of force them to lock into position. And eventually your wings start to stay where they're supposed to stay, and they're kind of locked in place. You can give them a good tug if you need to. So there are your spinner wings. And this might help you get a good look at them, but there's what they look like. They aren't perfect, but they're very fishable. And with the CDC spinner, you'll take some Antron and you'll figure-8 your thread over the top of that so that the Antron is adds a little sparkle and also holds the wings down because they're pretty soft, and that gives you more support to make the fly float. And then when that's done, then you take your dubbing and you build up your thorax. You build up dubbing around the wing, and when you're all done, it's going to look about like that, like the CDC rusty spinner or rusty biot spinner. And that's how you make those CDC wings. At least that's the way I do.